Hello, you guys. Welcome to Wednesday and our second writer's workshop. Sorry. It's good to see you, Terma, Elix, Jana, Jack, Kiwi. Hello, Caleb. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming. This is a village, very, very informal. So if you guys have questions, ask at any time. We will have some time at the end for questions too. So whatever works best for you, we'll be looking at chat the whole time and can kind of pick up from there. Thankfully, we're not limited by panel restrictions or con restrictions, so we can do our own thing.
Yep, so feel free to ask.
There will be a little bit of overlap from the panel that we did on Monday night at the beginning, just about writing a story, but not too much, just enough to kind of like talk about the web serial aspect of it. But welcome to our panel. I am Kat, and my husband Ryan and I 3 years ago decided to partner up and write underneath the Double Blind pen name. Double Blind did not have any kind of following, previous work, social media, so we started from ground zero, and this will be our experience and our takeaways, and I will let Ryan introduce himself.
So you guys all know me as one half of Double Blind. You can call me Ryan, whatever you prefer. But just as she said, Double Blind was a pen name that we started about 3 years ago. So I feel like we have the kind of experience most of you will probably be looking for, since many of you will have little to no information on yourselves on the internet. So without further ado, we will get started.
Just not late for dinner, am I right? Right. Yes, Seckler. For late for dinner, though, I think works too in your case.
That works for me as well.
So when you talk about writing for web serials and talk about publishing in general, we both understand that looking at everything, it can be really intimidating, and seeing how many people are out there and how people are doing and all of these websites. So we're going to start from the very ground, very beginning. Where do I begin with publishing a web serial? And that is writing. Step one is to write the story, and that's it. That's all you need to know. That's the whole thing. We're done.
Thank you for coming to the panel. You guys have a wonderful evening. But with that said, step one will be writing the story. Let's see here. Okay. So, like she said before, there's going to be a little bit of overlap. Depending on your writing style, make sure you have a loose outline. We're gonna always suggest this regardless of what kind of writing style you have, whether you're a discovery writer or whether you are somebody who prefers strict outlines. It's always good to have a loose outline. So that's going to be our biggest suggestion when you first start this out as you're writing.
Next is to build a backlog of chapters, and this doesn't have a hard number of how many chapters you should have. We decided 20 was where we wanted to start. So before we started posting anything, we had 20 chapters in our wing. You want this because there will be days that you get sick, that you just can't write, that something happens and you won't be home. Those are the days where you just grab from your backlog and you can post a chapter up.
Yeah, I'm going to second that. That is extremely important. Make sure you have a backlog, because there are going to be days you can't do it. Moving on to the next part, though, one of our favorite things about writing the story has been creating a world rules document. And this is basically what a lot of you might get caught up with when it comes to, like, say, world building. This is usually what you'll see in World Anvil. But your world rules document will be every single note you take down for yourself to make sure that you don't lose track of anything, regardless of what it is. That can be the magic system, that can be where character X was last time and what was he doing, and whether or not certain things work certain ways. You're going to want a rules document of some sort, because there's no way you are going to be able to keep track of every single person's name, every single person's attributes, where they went, what they're thinking about. There's no way. It's just not going to happen.
I've got ours up on the screen. These are also considered the sacred texts that I get to reveal sometimes a little bit. but you can see from the document tabs just how many different tabs there are. So our world rules document includes things like city names. So each of the islands have different cities. We have Cannoli currently going through Sorsha School essentially. So I've got her schedule plus like the hymns that she's learning, the cards that she's seen, and then we have all of our skills, classes, stats, everything is in here. That way, when we go back to write, there's something that we can refer to in our rules document and find it.
Just so you know, too, that world rules document is 53,000 words long.
You don't have to start the story once you hit 53,000 words. This is just something we have been building over time. So don't be like, I don't have a 40,000 word rule document. That's fine. Like, just start with your basics. And when you come across something in your writing that you're like, I'm going to have to remember this later, like, make sure that's in the world rules document.
Caleb asks, what is the ideal chapter length? We'll actually get into that pretty shortly here. But the basic answer to that is there is no ideal chapter length. It's going to depend on what you value as a writer. Next, though, we'll move on to It's Been Done Before. So what? Just about any idea that you've thought of has been thought of by somebody else already. There are no original ideas. Thank you so much for the follow, by the way, Greena Doodles. Really appreciate that. Oh, is that Serena? I can't tell with the text. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So don't get caught up with trying to try and reinvent the wheel or create this entirely totally new idea. Nobody's told it the way you have told it before. So we always encourage you to write whatever you are passionate about.
I'll follow up on the ideal chapter length. We get this question a lot, so I think it's good to cover. We like to hit chapters around 1,500 to 2,200 words, but I have seen plenty of chapters that have like 30,000 words and they post once a month. And like I said, we'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but just know that there's no hard set number of like ideal chapter length. And then the last thing on this slide that we also get a lot of questions on is overcoming writer's block. There is a concept called the muse, and the muse is I will not write unless I am inspired that day. And there's no such thing as the muse. Like, the muse is dead. So, oh, good, great. Hi, Serena. Thanks for being a bot. That's a bummer. Have a good night. One sec.
Goody.
Yeah. Hi. Okay, so writer's block is a hard one because a lot of times you'll sit down at your computer and go, oh my god, this is so overwhelming. I don't know what I want to do next. You really want to get your fingers moving. I've shown some people in our Discord that I have a typewriter and I'll go on there and just do little one-shot triptych stories or scenes, anything. Like, if you have one character that you're like, I just want to explore their headspace today, then do that. Don't worry about what you're writing because you can always change and edit it later. Just get your fingers moving and your mind moving. Anything to add on that, Ray?
No, you hit every topic I wanted to hit, so I am ready to move on when you are. Step 2 is to post the story. So I'll start by saying that choosing a comfortable frequency and schedule that works for you is going to be paramount to figuring out what your writing schedule is going to look like for you. There aren't really any wrong ways to do this. It's just a matter of maintaining consistent frequency. So if you say you want to release, 3 chapters a week, 5 chapters a week, 1 chapter a month, whatever is most comfortable for you, I encourage you to do that. As long as it's consistent. If you're consistent with it, then your readers are going to really appreciate that aspect about you, because it's very easy to follow an author, get really excited about their work, and then they go on a 2-month hiatus and you're like, great, I just wasted all my time and I'll never know how the story ends. That can be really, 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 really frustrating for a reader. So just try and stay consistent. And something Lynx likes to say every once in a while, and I agree with her on that aspect, is it's best to start light and then move up in frequency if you're comfortable with it. And what I mean by that is, let's say you start posting 1 chapter a week and you're comfortable with that and you're like, you know what, actually I'm feeling really good, I think I could post 2 chapters a week. Great, go ahead and do that. It's always best to start smaller. That way you can fall back a little bit if you need to, because people are already used to your original consistency. So if you have to pull back after moving up a little bit, most of your readers will understand.
This is kind of where the word count comes into. So I've read a lot of stories where there might be one chapter that's only like 1,000 words, and then the next chapter is like 6,000 words. So in your posting frequency and staying consistent, what I suggest trying before you even think about starting to post your story anywhere, sit down and set the times and days aside that you're going to want to be posting chapters, and start writing chapters on those days and times. So like if you're looking at doing one chapter a week, sit down on Thursday if that's your day and write that chapter out, and then do it again, and do this for like a few weeks to really feel out if this is going to be okay. Or if you wanted to do 2 days a week, do it 2 days a week, but get a feel for it and see where you're at before you start committing to the posting. Like Ray said, it's a lot easier to bump up chapters, and people will be more excited if you bump up chapters than starting high and then saying, sorry readers, I have to go back to once a week.
I agree with everything she said. And then next, before you start posting, get a cover. It doesn't matter what. It can be MS Paint. It can be whatever you like. Obviously, you want to make sure you're using any sort of art that you do obtain legally and with the artist's permission. But you can use something as simple as a picture of a chicken. And in fact, there are several lit RPGs and several stories on many websites that have gotten extremely popular, and their covers are honestly just a picture of a chicken or an ant with a hat, and it doesn't matter. As long as you've got some sort of cover, it'll at least let everybody know that, oh, this is something they took some time on, and this is something I can go dump some time into and not worry about it.
You'll find that Ryan and I are both very, very, very pro hiring artists, and that we never use AI for any of our work at all. I suggest either getting like stock photos and making your own, or I pulled up our very first cover so I can show you guys. So this was our very first cover for Catgirls. That's Kiki and Cannoli, and I had the idea of having them do like the Clan-Ad hand cross, like heart thing, because I thought it was really cute and we wanted people to come in because it's adorable. We got the cover for like $70, and then I created the title with 2 free fonts and then like a free PNG of the cat head and put it all together myself. So it is like it got us a lot of traction, but then like now you see our covers and they're very, very different. Like this is our first cover now. So the cover can change over time. It doesn't have to be like a thing that you keep static, just as long as you've got a cover. Yeah, we were like, Clan-Ad, let's do the clamp handhold.
I am a sucker for Clamp and Clan-Ad and a lot of that shoujo stuff. So yeah, that first cover is very near and dear to my heart. I know she feels the same way.
So the last 2 bullet points on here we talk about a lot, and that's how you respond to criticism and that you can't please everyone. Criticism is very difficult. It never stops being difficult, and people will always have it. Elix said on Monday you could be the sweetest peach, and there's someone that doesn't like peaches, and this is very true. So if you get criticism, when you get criticism, be professional, be kind. It costs nothing to be a nice person. Present the person that like you would want to talk to. So even on the meanest comments we've ever received, I go in there and I'll say, hey, thanks for reading, I appreciate your time. It's okay that you didn't like the story, take care. So Sky, hush. Peaches are awesome. But yeah, just kind of take it in stride as best as you can, and know that there will be someone out there who absolutely adores your story, and there will always be someone who doesn't, and that's okay too.
Keep in mind, you can't please everyone. It's impossible. It doesn't matter what work of fiction you write, there's going to be somebody who doesn't like fiction. Doesn't matter what kind of nonfiction you write, there's going to be somebody out there who doesn't like nonfiction. You could write the greatest story ever told. There are people who don't like Lord of the Rings. There are people who don't like Star Wars. There's no pleasing everybody. It's not going to happen. So it ties back into what Lynx was saying, in that you do need to try and take criticism in stride. Always take it with gratefulness. Be grateful for the feedback. Exactly like she said, just say thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm sorry my story wasn't for you. And that's it. Move on. Not every story is for every person, and that's okay.
Like villages just don't be the subject on authors behaving badly. Like I always picture, if your story blows up, do you want somebody to go find that horrible comment you made to that one person and like put it all over their Twitter?
Yep, somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to find that one day you felt bad and lashed out at somebody, and they're going to hold you to that. So it's important.
Let me preface this slide with saying this is our experience with our book on these websites. Your mileage may vary. You might find better experiences on them. It could hit a better audience. We're just going to go through these websites that we started with, and we started posting on a lot, and we've taken it down to 4 at this point. But this will be our list and how we did on there. Also mention kind of what that website is known for. So like when you go on there to post, what genres tend to do the best and what we've found. Starting us off is Railroad. So Railroad is the big one for lit RPG, progression fantasy, and then Cultivation's been really hot on there lately too. Isekai also does well. And our experience with Railroad has been good as far as pulling in readers, getting readers into the Discord, reader reactions. They're pretty ruthless when it comes to reviews, and it was definitely the place where we got the biggest backlash when we decided to try Kindle Unlimited. But for the most part, like I think we hit like 1 million reads on there before I started taking down chapters to move it.
As a side note, if you do decide to use Royal Road, I'm glad you brought up the view count. If at some point you do decide, hey, I want to bring this to books, but I do need to take down the chapters that I've got on the website, it retroactively removes your view counts. So keep that in mind when you do decide to move things to books, if you are going to start at Royal Road.
I agree that true good criticism that actually is trying to come from a place of care in the art form, but if somebody gets on there and they're like, your character is a Washington soy boy and I fucking hate him, that's... I will always quote this criticism about Matt. That's not true criticism. That is somebody, I ruined their day.
I take it you're referring to the view count, so I'll clarify what I mean. When we were putting up Everyone's a Catgirl, we were getting lots of views. We hit 1 million views, like she said. But what ended up happening is that once we decided to put out the first book, we had to remove chapters because we were putting it on Kindle Unlimited, KDP. And so by Amazon's terms of service, we had to make sure that the chapters didn't exist anywhere else on the internet. So we had to go and remove those chapters from the story on Royal Road. And what that ended up doing is it removed all the view counts associated with every single one of those chapters. So our 1 million view reads that showed up on the website went down to something like 500,000, 600,000. So it was a little demoralizing to see that, because we didn't realize that was going to happen. And we took all the chapters down before we realized that actually occurred.
Yeah, so Railroad and Scribble Hub track views by chapter instead of views of the whole series. So when you start deleting chapters, it deletes the views. And I think right now on Railroad it says we have like 200,000 views, which is very, very off. But that's because I took 4 books worth off of their website. So it just deleted all of the chapter views with it, which is a bummer. And speaking of Scribble Hub, that's next. So Scribble Hub is one that not a whole lot of people have heard of before, from my understanding. It's definitely good for all things harem, anime, slice of life. You'll go on here and you'll see a lot of these, like even without titles on them. I find that the audience on here tends to be more like fresh 18 to early 20, and then a lot of young adult readers is just kind of how I've seen. But we've done pretty well on there, so I gave it a thumbs up. They also really love not safe for work stuff, so I put our Tongues and Tails commissions on there, and it's I think I've got like 40,000 view or words, and it hit like 80,000 views. So they flocked to that. If you have any spicy erotic you want to put up there. Next is Reddit. Research subreddits. You do not want to just go on a subreddit and start posting your chapters. Somebody in a Discord server that I was in started talking about HFY one day, which stands for Humans Fuck Yeah. Most of the stories on there are actually like science fiction, but they were like, well, you've still got a human who's leading the story, so we decided to start trying to post it. And it actually did really freaking well. Like, HFY is where most of our people come from, but I've had other author friends tell me that they don't have as good of luck with it. So we may have just kind of hit lightning in the bottle moment with them. But so far, like, the people that have been on there, the comments we get, the takeaways, that's where we've gotten the most constructive criticism. I've really enjoyed posting on HFY.
I like going on there just to take a look at things and see what kind of comments that we've gotten. A lot of people from the Discord that we talk to now have come from there. I will say that if you do use HFY, make sure you do this in general. Just make sure you read each subreddit and make sure you understand all of their rules, because Humanity Fuck Yeah is a subreddit that focuses on humans doing good things, humans doing great things. So if there's no trend of that in your story, there's a good chance it'll get rejected, just as an FYI.
Yeah, and then there's some other subreddits like LitRPG, Isekai. They don't actually want you to post chapters. Like, they'll let you do promotions, but absolutely go through their rules. Make sure you're meeting the right rules and doing like the right amount of interaction. Some have an interaction minimum. So before you go and like start posting your story everywhere, just check the subreddit first. Next is DeviantArt, and I'll let Roy talk about this one.
So DeviantArt, I found that we've had pretty good success so far. They do have a tendency to focus more on romance and exotic fetishes. So they'll focus on anthropomorphic, they'll focus on furry, and this can vary from time to time. That's what I've noticed as the trend. That's what comes up in my feed a lot. That's what I find gets a lot of view counts. I like to say that we've had a pretty positive experience there. I do get frequent follows every once in a while, but your mileage may vary. It's very hit or miss on a lot of days.
We've been kind of on the fence about it, hence the yellow hand, because lately it's just been bot ridden. Like, I get 2 or 3 notes on there almost every day from the artists that are like, oh, pay me money and I'll make your character. And they'll like have a copy paste where they insert one of our chapter names or something. And they're like, this really touched me deeply. And it'll be like a joke chapter, which is funny. But like Roy said, we get okay traction on there. It's enough to where we haven't pulled our story yet.
Novel updates, I actually really like this one. So to make sure everybody understands so far, it's a forum. So it looks just like an old forum from what you would do like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and people like to post their stories there. It does seem to follow mostly anime niches and anime archetypes. There is a healthy amount of lit RPG and progression fantasy is there as well. And occasionally I do come across fantasy and sci-fi. So I feel that almost anything can work there. My experience, however, has been that if you do something that's a little bit outside of the anime archetype, you will have to work a little harder to get attention from more people. Seems like people are a little more forgiving with grammar mistakes and just overall themes if it's anime related. But if you're doing something that's more traditional or a little grittier, people are a little more nitpicky with the material.
Moonquill. So we tried Moonquill at the very beginning, and I learned recently that Railroad partnered with them, and I went back on their website, and I'm not sure really what does well on Moonquill. They have their own publishing side of things, and then you go over to their serialized stuff, and even the things that they have like on the front page, I click on, like, that's the stuff that they're pushing, and they have maybe like 16,000 views, which could sound like a lot, but when you're 100 plus chapters in, it's not a lot of views. So For me, I actually wound up pulling it, and it wasn't a great experience for us, just because even after I think 60 or 70 chapters, each one of them was only getting 3 or 4 views. So your mileage may vary. I don't know how the new authors are doing from Royal Road partnering with them. Maybe it's going really well, but not on the top of my list.
Yeah, I would just be careful if you do decide to go into Moonquill. Part of that could be because they're still very, very new to the scene, so it may take some time for them to grow. So take it with a grain of salt.
Also, just a quick comment too, each one of these websites has different formatting for how they want you to upload stuff. So you're going to have to post and repost and change things for every single one of these, which takes time. So it's good to start with like maybe 2 or 3 and not 8 like we did, but I was adamant. So like all of our posts, as many of you know, have images at the end with the pro tips. So Royal Road, they want a link to the image, and Moonquill wanted an upload, and DeviantArt does it different, and Reddit doesn't do images, so I have to type out the pro tip. So just go into it with the knowledge that there's no way to like make a bot to post to everything. You've got to do it all by hand.
I'll second that. DeviantArt is a hellhole for that.
Wattpad. Wattpad is the land of ab romances, and if you don't know what I mean, I'm going to show you. A lot of people default to Wattpad because that is all that they've ever heard of, ever. So if I put Wattpad over here, you'll see them kissing, and then one bad boy, and then there's no abs today. So the romances where it's just like all abs, that's what does well on Wattpad. Yeah, it's like you're 12 again. Wattpad has been around forever. I don't like Wattpad for a few reasons. One, even if you're signed up on their homepage, they don't show you any new posters or any new content. They only push what they want to push. So they don't have any way of getting you in front of new readers. And if you're outside of romance, good luck. I've never seen like a good anime, lit RPG progression, nothing on Wattpad. I think we did 30 or 40 chapters and each one of them got maybe 2 views. So if you're writing anything that isn't ab romance, I really can't push Wattpad. It just was not good for us.
Yeah, even then, your mileage may vary, exactly what she said, because they have no method for letting new people get seen. So it's all about what they want to push.
Yes, and as Village said, their search is rough. And you brought up fanfiction. I don't have it listed on here, but let me talk about AO3 for just a second. So AO3 is the website that like everyone knows for fanfiction. But if you're going to post there, you need to be really, really careful because they don't want you to talk about monetization or if you're selling anything or even selling your books anywhere. I post some of our Tongues and Tales stories because they're just commissions and some of them are fan fiction and they're all erotic and AO3 eats it up. But I'm not even allowed to I will put commission for someone, but I can't say that I'm open for commissions. I can't link our books. So I didn't list it because it's not a good way to move it to a monetization platform like Patreon, since you can't post that, or Ko-fi, since you can't post that. So use it kind of at your own discretion. And last is Tapas. So Tapas has made a lot of changes over the last year and a half on their UI. That one is definitely the viewership and readership is more YA oriented. I found we got a lot of comments even on the chapters that I would mark not safe for work, oh my eyes, how could I read this? No. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it's gonna be. So they're big on anime, they're huge on villainous right now, anything YA, cultivation. I think that webcomics do a little bit better on there. A lot of people are looking for art. For us, it did okay. I think we got a few people off of Tapas, but not very many, and a lot of them seemed to drop after a while. And I just wound up posting chapters there after the 3rd comment of when are you going to put this back up for free? So you can try it. I know one of my clients does really well with his young adult cultivation fantasy on there. So give it a shot, see how it does. Ryan, I usually suggest testing 20 to 30 chapters on any website that you do. before giving up.
Yeah, because again, I'll repeat it. Just because this was our experience doesn't mean that's going to be your experience.
We're going to repeat this one more time because we cannot stress this enough. Be kind to yourself when people give you feedback that you may not want to hear, or criticism, either kind or harsh. It's hard. Like, get up, go take a walk, get a drink, just take a breath, and then go back to it. Decide if it's something that you can actually apply to your story, or if it's something that you just need to brush it off and keep going.
I'll second everything that she said. You just have to be kind to yourself. Try to control the factors that you can control, and try not to let the factors that you can't control bother you too much. It's just not worth it. It's going to eat up your day. It's going to eat up your time. It's going to demoralize you. It's just not worth it.
Everyone is a muscle cat mommy would probably go very, but it'd have to be cat daddy because that's the abs. It's the man abs. So everyone is a muscle cat daddy would go hard. And cultivation is not like farming. It's like the wushu, cultivating oneself. Yeah, like martial arts in China. I'd have to do like a whole panel on what cultivation is.
Yeah, it's about the elements in your key.
All right, step 3 is social media and community. First and foremost, I will say that your readers are not numbers, they're people. This is very, very important to both Rye and I, and we don't see it echoed a lot through the indie community, so it's number 1 on our list. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Our readers are what makes it so that we can be here. So try and, if you can, like, be very open with your readers and be close to them. We have our Discord community as our primary hub, and that's where we usually point everyone that we meet at cons, or if we go online, we'll invite them. It's good to have one website that you really want to push people toward when you meet them in person, or where you're talking online, or if they comment, you have one ready, like, oh yeah, you want to come hang out, go to X, Y, or Z. Social media is absolutely a necessary evil. I know it sucks. I don't like it, but I just do it for our books and for connecting with more people. So it's another opportunity for readers to get a hold of us or see what we're up to. I do Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, and then Tumblr. Am I missing one? Instagram. Yes. And then I started doing TikTok. That's neither here. I haven't decided how that's working for us. So TikTok takes me a lot of time, and I feel like an old lady whenever I pull up the app because I have no idea what I'm doing. But TikTok is hard. It's a weird interface. I don't know how to take videos. My phone is old. It is not made for me.
It's a dancing app.
I don't dance either. We'll just have to get you dancing.
No.
And then the last thing is to create engaging content for your followers on whichever website you choose. And by engaging content, I'll give you a few examples. You do not want your social media to be every post is please go buy my book. It gets so old. Like, I unfollow accounts that do that because, like, what? Tell me something else about yourself that isn't your book. I want to know more about people. So yeah. Some of the things that we do. We do writing tips and tricks. So I do behind the scene posts on Patreon, and then I'll take like little bits of it and kind of put those out there and try and help other writers. Or clever ties into your series. One idea I had earlier last year was to combine true cat facts with our cat girls and just get art of like whatever cat fact. So like this one is Yomi, and if your cat approaches you with a straight vibrating tail, she's extremely happy to see you. Doesn't have to do with cat girls necessarily, but like it still ties in, if that makes sense. And then we love, like I said, we work with 30 plus artists, and we love getting lots of commissioned art and fan art, so we shared a lot of that, and that's super helpful too.
Yes, the most important thing to remember is try not to make your book your entire life, like this is what defines you as a person. Because like she said, there will be a lot of posts that show up, oh, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. And it's just like getting a bunch of advertisements. And I'm sure I can speak for everyone that it is really annoying to see an entire feed filled with advertisements. I know I personally too started unfollowing and just blocking people if they wouldn't shut up about their book. So it's more about making engaging posts, like she said, and trying to draw attention to your work through curiosity. Exactly like how she said, the first panel is about finding a character's truth. The second one is like cat facts. And then there's always, of course, commissioned art. These will automatically make people go, oh, I've never seen that. I wonder what this is, or I wonder what that person's into. And then that's when they start doing their own investigation into you, and then they stumble upon your work.
Here, I'll show you guys my Instagram real quick. So this is our Instagram page, and the 3 pins that I have are our Kickstarter, and then the 9 artists that directly are supported through our books, and then our coins, because we love our coins. But as I scroll down here, I have a convention recap that I typed up on Patreon, and I made it public to everyone. We have a tarot card series in the works. We've got cute comics. I try and post up pictures like I bought our spider on here. Just other stuff that's not just like go buy the book. Like, here's some writing tips, here are some memes, here are some other things that are going on right now. Stuff that will engage your followers and will benefit them somehow. Okay, so after you've got your chapters ready to go, you've started posting them, you have social media going, your next step is networking and advertising. So what we mean by this, first of all, we found that one of the best ways to get people over to our story, we're swapping shout outs with other writers, and that usually requires either going on websites like Railroad and DMing them, or joining discords. Like Railroad has its own discord. There's a few other authors that have their own discord, and you can just message them and say, hey, can we swap shout outs? Can I get a shout out on my book? And we got a lot of traction from that.
Even back when her and I were doing our previous works before Catgirls, I found that was extremely effective, especially on Royal Road. People were very eager and very willing to trade reviews, trade shout outs, whatever it may be. So I would greatly encourage giving that a shot as well.
Railroad also does advertisements on their front page, and if you have some extra cash, you can do their lowest, I think it's $50, and do an ad and have it go straight to your book. This, right now it's hard to say because every time I go on there, all of the ads are memes. So when I did it with art and made them more serious looking, like ads that you would see on Facebook or Amazon. The first one got plenty of clicks. The second one was for our Kickstarter and it didn't get as many. So I don't know if it was because it was for Kickstarter or because of where I posted it. It's really hard to say. But just kind of look at what people are using at the moment and try and fit in. So if it's meme-y, do something on the meme side, or you could try get some cool art and just put something that's really eye-catching on there. Facebook and Amazon have actually been our best performing paid ads so far for our story. Obviously, you can't do Amazon until you have your books on Amazon, but Facebook ads are very simple to set up. I run them for $1 a day, and it gets us a lot of people on our page. We're almost at 1,300 followers on our page, and we've only had it up for 3 months. And so that's been really helping us in getting more numbers. And then, yeah, we talked about keep advertising on social media to a minimum, so have engaging posts instead. And then we found out this year that conventions rock. This was our first year doing conventions, and we met so many awesome people in person and got to talk face to face, and it was our favorite part.
I had so much fun with the conventions. Those have absolutely been my favorite part. I've loved meeting you guys. I've loved seeing how many people fly out to come see us. It's honestly been my favorite part of the entire year.
And then step 5 is monetization. Very, very, very first bullet point on here. You might not make money on your series, but that doesn't make it bad. Ever. Patreon is really hard to get going. Ko-fi is really hard to get going. Those are the 2 go-tos for most serial authors. So you can offer rewards like advanced chapters, which when Patreon first came out, advanced chapters was like the go-to reward for writers. But now that there's so many and so many different Patreons, it's really good, I think, to have rewards outside of the story. So for example, getting extra artwork, or we have polls where patrons can vote to see who the next side quest chapter's point of view is from. We do pins now. We've got behind the scenes content that we do twice a month. So research what other authors are doing, especially like the successful ones, and see what rewards they're doing. And once again, very much like the chapters, start small. Don't overpromise and then underdeliver. Like the pins take a lot of time, so I don't suggest doing that right out the gate. But start with what you can. Practice. You will have no patrons for a while. That's okay. If somebody comes along your page and they're like, wow, this is so much content, they will be a lot more likely to pledge than they would if you have one post from 8 months ago.
I'll second exactly what she said. Quickly going back to it. It's very, very difficult to get eyes on your work sometimes. Some of the websites out there do a much better job of getting newer authors' work seen, like Royal Road or Scribble Hub, that have new author pages that show up on the front page. But that doesn't make your story bad. Sometimes you just get buried under the slew of new work coming out, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't see it. So try not to get too disheartened if your view count is low or anything like that. As far as monetization with Patreon and Ko-fi, those are the go-tos, and I'm going to echo exactly what she said. Just take it slow. Don't overpromise, like she said. Start with chapters, feel it out. If you can afford to up it a little bit, then feel free, but do not jump the gun and go, okay, I'm going to do comic strips now, and I'm going to do commissions, and I'm going to do buttons and keychains and art prints. Don't do that. You don't have anything to sell yet. But as you get more patrons, as you get more people into your Discord or whatever social media platforms you're using, you can slowly trickle in more rewards depending.
So Terma asked what would be good starting content. Where we started was 7 chapters ahead, and that's just because we had those 20 chapters baseline. So you could start with like 3 or 4 chapters ahead and just have that. And then we did 1 artwork a month, which is where we hired Mound, and Mound was doing our 1 artwork a month. We had the polls for people to decide Catgirl chapters, and polls aren't necessary to your story, especially if you have an idea of where you're going. It just kind of worked for us for like the interlude side quests. I know those won't work for everyone. And then the last thing we did was 1 behind the scenes a month, and it's really funny going to our first behind the scenes that we did, because it's like 7 pictures and like that's it. We didn't have a whole lot happening, and now it takes me like an hour and a half to type up the behind the scenes. So it's okay if you don't have a ton of content. Just baseline things that you can commit to, like I can do this once a month, I can do this like twice a week. Just practice these things and see if you're comfortable with it. Yeah, don't go monetary, do more interactive that you can handle. Once you get into physical product, it gets really hard because there's minimums on orders. So if you only have 10 patrons and you have to order 20 of something, you're gonna get stacked like our poor office right now.
With that in mind, everything that we've talked about so far is open to change. You need to keep an open mind whenever you're getting into this. What is true today can be wrong tomorrow. There have been several occasions where I've tried to upload chapters, or we've talked about Patreon rewards, or did some new social media posts that did really hot last week and now sucks this week. And that's just going to be the way of it. The internet is always changing. Advertising is always changing. Interest is always changing. Cultivation is now super popular when it used to not be. Lit RPG is now hot. There's always going to be something that changes. So do your research and try to keep an eye on these things. Try to learn from it and then make adjustments to your stuff as necessary.
And be patient. Our Discord started with me, Rye, and one other person, and that was it. And it's now almost at 400 members. We were talking in there every single day to each other, to our fake account, to Penny, just to like keep things active and keep things rolling. And that's fine. Like, it feels really weird at first. It's just like when you start streaming and there's nobody there in the stream, you're just kind of talking to yourself. It's a lot like that.
And just to reiterate this, your story is amazing. Your story is awesome. If you like it, somebody else will like it too. There is always an audience. Please always keep that in mind. You can do everything right. You can make all the correct decisions and nail every single aspect and still fail to get an audience. Sometimes it just happens. That's why we always emphasize that it's important to research and adapt and just try to roll with the punches, basically, because that doesn't make your story bad. That doesn't make your work bad. It's tough out there. It's really tough to get stuff seen. So that's why we hope that, you know, our information will help you get through it and find your own niche.
The biggest thing to remember when you're writing, don't worry about your audience. The audience part is going to come once you start marketing and you start trying different tactics to find your audience. For example, us doing cons this year was an experiment to see where like the most people we could connect with were, and it turned out the book festival and then the anime crowd, which was really funny because at the beginning I wasn't sure how we would do with the anime crowd, but everyone was awesome and sweet and kind and wonderful, and like cons are just as amazing as I remember. We did a Comic-Con and then we also did like a gaming con, but the anime crowd and the anime con were our best setup like for the whole year. So don't push out anything until you try it and see what happens. And then you'll find that a lot of times, sometimes you have to change your whole marketing strategy. Like maybe you were posting this one thing that was really popular, but it's not popular anymore, or it's not reaching the same people that you want to reach. So then you change that part. Your audience will be there. It's just finding them. This is a lot of information. And we went pretty quick. So, questions? Anything at all?
Yeah, doesn't even have to pertain to this particular workshop. Any questions at all?
I'm glad your notes are more fuller, because, yeah, this is your second time going through this one, Terma.
We really hope the information helps you guys, really.
How many chapters did we do before printing the books? So we were at volume 3, I think, when we started taking them down.
Volume 3 or volume 4, just about. Somewhere around there, I think. Because, yeah, that would have been last year. Yeah, so that sounds about right. About 4 or 5 volumes almost.
So what made us choose to swap was because we were doing well on reads and well on numbers, but like the Patreon just kind of stopped. Like no one was coming in. It wasn't finding the same amount of readers. It felt like everyone on Railroad and Scribble Hub had read our stuff in HFY, so if they were going to read it, they were going to read it. And we had more and more readers asking us, like, are you going to ever put this to paperback? Like, I want to read this on paperback. So that's when we decided to do a Kickstarter and see if it would be manageable for volume 1, and it went off great. And then after that, we were like speed publishing them. So we did volume 1, volume 2, and then I got volume 3 in at like the end of the year, and then volume 4 this year, and volume 5 will be early next year. So right now we're almost done with volume 6, but that one's going to probably be like later next year, so when we get it out.
So Terma, we actually found that we had the most success in feedback on Royal Road and Reddit, those 2 sites. It kind of depends on the day. We definitely get more engagement and comments from my experience on Reddit, but Royal Road has its days and will completely floor us.
Yeah, right now we're still posting to Royal Road, Scribble Hub, Reddit and DeviantArt are like the four. Oh, and then the novel updates forums. Should my story title be simple or advertise its plot like a light novel does? So that's going to be up to you, but I'll tell you from a marketing standpoint, the longer your title is, the more of a nightmare it is because you only get so many characters in things like Amazon and Facebook. And then your title on, like if you're posting to different websites and you put the title in like we do in HFY, you won't be able to fit it all. So you're going to have to like shorten it anyway. I think even He Who Fights with Monsters, people refer to it as the acronym, and a few other ones that I've seen. They call it an acronym of some sort. So in my experience, I found it's easier if it's short and catchy and snappy.
I agree with that.
Like Kiwi said, if you have to take a breath to finish saying the title, it might be a little too long. Like people will still bring ours down to EAC, but it's or just Catgirl, but it's easier. Like even on Amazon, if you search Catgirl, that's the first thing that came up. So it works better for your SEO too if it's a little shorter.
Yeah, because your community, the people you engage with, they're going to shorten it anyway. What if my title's the entire cover? Hey, you want to show them your work of art?
I'm finding it.
It's funny you say that, Turva. I can't recall if we've shown this to you or not, but she's looking for it right now.
I found it.
All right.
Here you go. Here's the new EAC cover. That time I deadlifted too much weight at the gym while trying to impress the girl and fucking died, went to purgatory with a sexy secretary goddess, and was reincarnated into a world where everyone's a cat girl except for 3 other dudes at any given time. Here you go. That's the real title.
You almost had to take a breath there. That says that the title is okay.
Made it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to see that. Get that out of here. I want to see nothing but text.
So, funny thing with the art, we discovered this year with doing conventions that guys were really nervous to come up to us and talk to us, which is funny because most of our reader base was guys at the time, but it looked too cutesy. And we saw lots of dudes like hitting their friends like, oh yeah, that's the book you read. So I had to start, yeah, guilty. That's okay. You came back and I was very happy. I had to start heckling people like, why do you hate hot girls? So we are planning on doing a set of books with the main guys on the cover to see how it goes. But I think that's a really good example of testing things out and seeing what works and what draws in the audience that you want. Like you have to be open to being adaptable. And Caleb, if you wanted, and if you're 18, that's our Discord, and everyone is super kind and warm and wonderful. And we have a writing channel in there that you are more than welcome to hang out and ask more questions, share your writing. I'm sure I can get a poster of the beautiful cover.
It would be funny. Yeah, actually, that would be hilarious to hang.
I could put that up somewhere above my desk and find room for it. Yeah, I know our author name was too big. As far as pen names go, so it's totally up to you if you want to use a pen name. We decided to because at first no one actually knew that we were husband and wife, and we just wanted people to enjoy a good story. We didn't tell people until like earlier this year, so that's newer. Story tags, that's a great question.
Yeah, they're all different.
So Scribble Hub, I'll pull up, and then I think we've got Railroad has like their own set. Both of these websites have a ton of tags and like tag options. Here's the dashboard. How do I find the tags on here? Maybe it's on the page. Here we go. So Railroad has a pretty good amount to choose from, but they they're more limited than Scribble. Scribble lets you do like a gorillion tags. And what I did was I tried to find tags that weren't as popular, because on Scribble, if you go up in the rankings on a tag, it's more likely that you'll get seen. So I went in and found like the satire tag, which we hit really high in, and then interconnected storylines. The more that you get up in like the top 10 on a lot of these websites, like we're on the first page for this one, the more likely you are to get seen. With Railroad, they're all pretty generic, so I just picked ones that fit the best idea for us. And everybody, like Ryan just said, every single one is different, so you gotta kind of feel it out. And then do you do DeviantArt on tags?
Yes, there are tags. Yeah. Those can be a bit annoying. They don't... From the way I've done it, it doesn't seem like they have actually any default tags. You can just type in your own tag and then keep moving that way, is how it works. So yeah, exactly like you're showing there. You can have all of your tags down there.
And then with tags for social media, I kind of stay away from hashtags on Twitter. I've tried them on and off, and it doesn't seem to help either direction. So I've just left them off. For Instagram used to be like where you would put 900 tags at the bottom of your post, but now I guess it's as bad. So things change so freaking fast. So I just try and put like 6 or 7 that I think will pull people in. Facebook, I don't use tags at all. And then Tumblr, I am still learning the black magic of their tags. Like, we don't get a whole lot of engagement on Tumblr, but enough people have asked if we have one, so I made one. Question. Yeah, Kiwi, when I finally got the print of like Kylie fighting Magni, that's when people stopped. And then we took away all of our price tags were on Sakura Blossom. So I'm like, no, I think that's hurting us too. So we made our price tags the iPaw, and we got rid of like the awning with the flags. And I'm like, all right, it's just, we got to stop scaring people away. I don't think we're that scary. I think we're pretty cool. The quiz helped a lot. We made a quiz this year where you can figure out what character you are, what starting class you are in Neuralia, and that helped connect people with the characters we have. Yeah, we just got to get that vertical giant print banner. And yeah, Sky, you're always 50-50. It doesn't matter what I'm going to put on the table, man.
It's so fun to watch.
Can you get cannoli, Zeckler? That's because you're very kind and sweet, obviously. Village only the 3rd person to get eye on the quiz, which is amazing.
Of course you got Matt, Sky. You're a lot like him.
Any other questions? I know this was shorter, but it goes a lot faster, and I know there's not quite as many questions as like writing, but this one, I get that it's harder to ask questions until you're actually sitting down and doing it. So really, if you're looking at starting to write the web serial, make sure you've got the chapters, make sure you've got them saved up, that you've got the habit of writing chapters, and that you're okay publishing them however many times a week. Even if it's once a week, twice a week, just start somewhere. and then slowly build up from there. And we are always available in our Discord. We are always happy to answer more questions, help out where we can. Yes, like Village said, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what we're here for.
We enjoy helping people. We think the information should be shared. There's no reason to hold on to it. There's room for everybody's story to do well. There is. There's room for everyone. And I don't approve of authors withholding this information because there's really no purpose behind it. Nobody sits there and goes, yep, this is the one book I read and that's all I'm going to read for the rest of my life. People read books all the time. They're going to read tons and tons and tons of books. Your story is not the only one they're going to read. So, but on the other hand, the other person's story is not the only one they're going to read either. They're going to come to yours as well. So we very much want to help others where we can, whether it comes to writing, the process of social media, how to advertise your book, whatever it may be, whatever it is you need to help get your story out there and noticed.
Thanks for coming, Caleb. We appreciate you. And we're running our Kickstarter for 3 more days. So if you're looking for the paperbacks, ebooks, cool Volume 5 merch, it's all on there and the links in our Discord. And we really appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out. And we hope that some of it can help.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care and have a wonderful night.